Welcome to another wild moment. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I wanted to talk to you about conversations had and conversations that we fail to have in life to help us process life. Prior to the pandemic, one of the conversations that was on the table that my coworkers and I wanted to have with some of the representatives in our community and some of the leaders and pastors and organizational leaders in our community, we wanted to talk about the onslaught of violence in our community, be it domestic violence, suicide, which a lot of people don't understand is an act of violence because whenever someone commits suicide, it is an act that is felt, a violent act that is felt by all those affected by the suicide. We also wanted to talk about human trafficking, and we wanted to talk about the opiate epidemic, and we wanted to talk about how these things affected families and community ties. Again, it was a conversation that was never had because the pandemic happened. Once the pandemic happened, conversations changed. It became about what's going on? What are we seeing in the world? What is this is killing people? How did it happen? How do we prevent it? How do we attack it? Then it became conversations about how it was affecting not only the environment but the economy. It was affecting households, it was affecting businesses. Different conversations were on the table. And we had some people who weren't at the table having conversations at all. It was just a everyday moment for them to just going through life. Okay, it is what it is type of thing. And by the way, I really detest that uh, statement because it never is just what it is. It can always be what you want it to be if you work at it. If you say it is, that's a complacent statement. We need to have a conversation about that also. Because if you ever become complacent in life, you become stagnant, and before you know it, you're dead. So, again, that's another conversation for another time. But that's what this 2020 has been about, a series of conversations. And I'm just glad to be at the table. I'm just thankful and I'm grateful to be at the table. I'm thankful and I'm grateful for every experience to be at the table. I'm thankful and I'm grateful for the conversations taking place about how we can rebuild the economy, the conversations taking place about the presidential election and the candidates, the conversations taking place about how we can best deal with this pandemic with the coming school year. I'm just thankful and grateful to be at the table when these conversations are taking place, whether it be through YouTube, my blog, with a neighbor, sitting in on a meeting, a virtual meeting that they might be happening, just being at the table, having a conversation. The only thing that bothers me or that would concern me is if there were no conversations taking place at all. Then we again would be in the mode of it is what it is. We would become stagnant, we would become complacent, and we would die off. If the conversation was about it is what it is, then we would not be looking for ways to combat this pandemic, to rebuild our economy, to reestablish and strengthen our communities, our businesses, our family ties. We would not be coming up with a plan of action when the school year is approaching our children. If it was the conversation, it is what it is, then we would lose all hope and all joy. So, one of the conversations that I would like for people to have and to continue is to rethink that statement. It is that it is. And instead, readjust that mindset to it will be what I declare it to be. Thank you for joining me for another